Welcome to this year's first WLIT program. Thanks for being here. I'm super excited. As you know, the keynote speaker with Kathleen Crandall is just really a gift for each of us. Usually she teaches at Wharton, and so typically not here in WLIT. And so Kathleen, thank you for joining us. As you know, I've worked with Kathleen for over a decade, so each transformation for my career, I came back to Kathleen of like, okay, here's the next adventure I'm thinking about. How do you do it? How do you put it into words? How do I show up differently? Who do I need to meet? And so, today, all of us will get we can create that next adventure from tonight. And so, again, super happy to be here. I'm Jean Mackhart. I'm the WLIT Board Chair and CEO at Children's Cancer Research Fund. This is my last event with you as Board Chair. So I have my family over here. The two daughters look just like me, but much younger. And, appreciate we're 200 strong tonight. And so we'll start with the mission for WLIT. We designed the year and each of the programs to connect, educate, and reach back. And tonight is just that. You've already networking, and we go to 7:30. So after the program, I recommend you network again. Again, building on the skills and insights you have from Kathleen later tonight. I want to talk about our mentoring program. Last year, we kicked off peer mentoring, and it was 4 cohorts, and it was covering topics of negotiation and communication and influencing, and it was a great success. We bonded as leaders within technology, and within my group, 2 people asked for raises and got them, so money was involved, and we also celebrated at the end together as a cohort. So because of that success, you have an opportunity to join one of this year's cohorts. So think about it. We'll have more information coming out, but reach out to one of the board members to get more information and sign up. So super excited about the program continuing. And again, it's skills and knowledge, but networking is the thing that's going to open the next doors for you. And so really recommend you join one of the mentoring cohorts. I'd like to thank Lauren Kirkbride. She was our Minneapolis-based photographer. I'm hoping many of you received photos tonight. It's, as you know, your LinkedIn profile is a key kind of advertisement bulletin of pulling people to you. And your photo of a smile and of being approachable and human is important. So just really appreciate Lauren coming in today. And I also liked the line in the lobby, so thank you for taking advantage of it. I'd also like to thank our sponsors. As you know, we're unable to do what we do through the programming without them. And so Digineer, Turnberry Solutions, Nutanix, SPS Commerce, Thomson Reuters, and Lead Pages. Just really we're going to give an applause for our sponsors. And with that, I'd like to introduce Kelly Van Ravenhorst, and she is the Director of Recruiting for Digineer. So Kelly, if you could come up, I'd love to hear your wisdom.
Thank you, Jean. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see a full house in here. I am Kelly Van Ravenhorst, Director of Recruiting for Digineer, which is an IT management consulting firm here in the Twin Cities. So we're celebrating 25 years this year, and over the years, we have done a lot of sponsoring for organizations like MinTech as well as WLIT, and we just find these organizations really important for the community, and we believe in promoting technology, empowering and educating women, especially with WLIT. There's not a ton of IT events you can go to where majority of the people here are women, so it's kind of nice to see this event to promote that, and the other individuals, male individuals that attend as well to support this association as well. One of the things with Digineer that I look at is we do a lot with our professional development and really driving people's careers. And so when I looked and talked with HR, looking at what Digineer has done in our workforce, we've always been around that 35–40% of women in our organization, and our management leadership team has always been at least a third, if not up to 50% in some years. So I'm really proud of that, being part of an organization within the IT field. And I was talking to our VP of Human Resources, and she mentioned that one of the things that she's piloting this year is with our professional development to really focus on personal branding. And so it's a hot topic, so I'm really excited to see the speaker tonight talking about this, and I'll be taking lots of notes. And I think there's just a lot of information everybody in this room can get out of that for personal branding. So looking really forward to that. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's great to see some old faces and some new faces, and would love to meet others.
Thank you, Kelly. Now it's time to introduce Kathleen Crandall. Kathleen, if you want to come up. So Kathleen Crandall is a global expert in personal branding and founder of Know My Impact and the Impact Personal Brand Experience. She works with people and companies around the world to understand, leverage, and bring to life their brand and their impact that they have on people and businesses. Kathy has more than 30 years of experience building successful corporate, product, and people brands in startups to Fortune 100 corporations. She's an adjunct facilitator for several nonprofits and for the Wharton School Executive Education Program, Women on Boards, Building Exceptional Leaders. Kathy, thanks for, hanging out with us tonight and sharing your wisdom.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm a little intimidated right now just because, first and foremost, Jean is such a good friend. And there are so many friends in here in this room right now, and I'm waving at Mo and I'm waving at this table, but it really is an honor to be here. What I'm going to share with you today is not necessarily what you might be expecting unless you read some of the promos that have been shared around LinkedIn. A lot of people have a certain expectation around what personal branding is, and I come at it from a very different perspective, which I'm going to unveil as we go here with every slide. But one of the things, where's the gal I was talking to her earlier when I said, you can't wait to see my first slide? She said, this is probably the most awkward question, and other people are challenging this question. And it is going to be our icebreaker tonight, okay? So get ready. I'm going to have a little fun exercise I'm going to ask you to do because it's going to change how you answer this, okay? So the first thing I want you to do to just kind of get a feel for what it is I'm going to be talking about tonight, I want you to turn to somebody at a table you may not know or not know well. And I want you to each take a turn answering this question. But here's the catch. You cannot tell them what you do for a living or where you work. No titles, and know where you work. And know how long you've been there, okay? So if there's anybody from 3M here, I know it's a big thing to say how long you've been there. Now, and I love people from 3M. I work with a lot of them. But it is a badge of honor with some of the bigger companies to say, and I've been here for 30 years. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. First and foremost, take off your name tags and flip them upside down so people can't see your name. Now I want you to all, and you can get up if you want to do it. We're going to take turns doing it. I'm going to have you find somebody, and one of you just says, tell me about yourself. And then I want you to introduce yourself, and then I want you to switch. On your mark, get set, go. Okay, did you have fun? Okay, do you know how much fun it was to hear this? Because even before this started, I didn't hear it that loud before, so this is perfect. Just by a show of hands, how many found it a little uncomfortable to not be able to go to your job and your job title? Just by a show of hands. Okay. And yet, at the end of the day, that is not a trick question. People really do want to know about yourself. But we're all trained to go right to our job title and go right to our experience. And I used to love getting that question when I was back in the corporate world, which I spent the first 20 years of my career in. Advertising, public relations, branding, companies, products, and services. And I loved my job. It was a lot of fun. It was a very exciting environment. Never knew what was going to happen the next day, never mind the next minute. But I loved getting this question at networking events, at work, because I love to say, I am the senior vice president at the world's largest PR firm. Okay? And I say that with a little bit of attitude, but the fact of the matter was, I actually defined myself by my title. And I worked hard to get there, and went through school and worked many hours to get where I was. And you know what happens when you put everything on your job title? One day, it's no longer there. And I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I'm going to give you a little insight about why I believe this statement here so thoroughly and heavily, and it's everything that I do. You are not a job title, and the minute you start identifying yourself with your job title and where you work and what you do, that's nothing compared to the rest of it. And very long story short, I found out what it was like to not be able to share that after spending about 20 years of my career, ironically, at the peak of what I thought was my career in public relations, ironically specializing in healthcare and medical device, and was a single parent to 2 little kids at the time, and one night found myself in the emergency room, and overnight my life changed. Diagnosed with 2 inoperable brain tumors, 8 to 12 months to live. I'm still here, okay? And that's all because of Mayo Clinic. I knew I had to get to Mayo. But long story short, I went without working for 2 years. I ended up losing my job. I ended up losing my house. I ended up losing everything in my house, including all of my records, which I had been collecting for my life, which was the hardest part. And all of that had to happen in order for me to realize I'm not a job title, because I knew I'd never go back to that world. I knew I'd never do what I was doing before. I knew that I had to figure out what I was going to do next. And at this point, I'm 44. And as luck would have it, I met people along the way that all of a sudden said, you should do this personal branding thing. Because I was in the workforce center trying to figure out what would I be able to leverage and do next, because I didn't want to go back to the agency world. Long story short, I'm here doing what I love, leveraging everything I knew, and not realizing that everything can change for the better. So, what I want you all to know today is that the minute you start defining yourself by your job title, I just want you to rethink that. because the day I realized I could never say that again was the hardest day of my life, believe it or not. When I started to realize that I would never say that again. All right? That was the hardest thing, was not being able to have my job title. Not my house, not all my stuff. It was that. So I decided I'm going to have to figure out what I really want to do. And I started doing Branding 101 on myself and walked myself through this fundamentals of branding. And lo and behold, over time, I created my own process from the ground up to help you figure out, what are you known for? And more importantly, what happens because of you? And I don't use those words lightly because there's a lot that goes into that. And I've had the honor of working with many people in this room to walk them through this so they can see that even what you think you're known for is nothing compared to what other people will tell you you are known for. So keep that in the back of your mind. We're going to talk about the power of feedback. So, what is a personal brand really? I know a lot of people that do personal branding. They all do it differently. They all have value. They all bring something to the table. But I do have a definition that I use for the work I do. And this is the first thing you need to know. You already have one. You're not coming here to figure out what you want to be. You're not coming here to figure out what brand should I embrace. Madonna can. She's done it many times. But the fact of the matter is, you already have one. And the funny thing is, you may not really know what it is. You might think you know, but I guarantee you, it is nothing compared to what other people whose opinions matter will tell you. It's this simple. What are you known for? What do you do repeatedly, say repeatedly, without even thinking about it? Because even when I work with clients and I say, what do you think your top 5 skills are? What do you believe your top 5 traits are? How you do them? It isn't always in alignment with what all these people who care about them will say. And yes, I'm going to share my exercise with you so you can do this. But here's the fact. You don't have a separate work brand. You don't have a separate home brand. You don't have a separate online brand. Because it's hard to shift gears and be something at home when you're at work and be something different at work than when you're at home. And when you think about it, there are core skills that you are known for that you do without even thinking about it that make you unique. And we all think, oh, everybody does this. Oh, I'm not special because everybody does that. First of all, they don't, and they certainly don't do it the way you do it. Let's take problem solver for fun. A lot of us are problem solvers in this room. Some of you are on-the-spot problem solvers. Some of you are strategic problem solvers. Some of you are data-driven. Fill in the blank. That's how you start distinguishing yourself. Leaders. You're not just a leader. Put a trait in front of it. Now it changes it. And it might make me connect with you more because of it. Because we're out here to find our people. I'm not for everybody, and everybody isn't for me, but it's always fun when you try to be yourself, and then you make those connections. Okay? That happens at work, certainly happens in your personal life, and every step in between. It is what you repeatedly do and say, and we often don't even think about it. Any of you know Ann Pryor? Ann Pryor was my business partner for 10 years. She and I couldn't be more opposite or different, but that's why we work so well together. And the best way I can describe this is Ann's vernacular is very different from mine. Ann talks about the journey, and she's very heartfelt about the journey. And after many years of working with her, I went and had a t-shirt made that said, "Journey is a rock band," and on the back, I'm on an adventure. So it's even little words you use, things you say, things you do without even thinking about it. that make you who you are. And I'll say one thing about Anne. Anne used to do random acts of kindness all the time. Like she came to my house at 4 in the morning to plant a garden on Mother's Day for me. So she's very special. But we're all different, right? We all do it differently. At the end of the day, it is what distinguishes you from everybody else who does what you do. So even when you think about the title you hold, the work you do, the roles and responsibilities you have, even if all of you had the exact same title, you all have a very distinctive brand. So I'm going to help you figure out what that is. So think about this. Who doesn't love the black sheep, right? But I want you to start thinking, just for fun, if you could pick only 3 skills you think you're known for right now, write them down. There's no test, promise. I won't pick on you. What 3 skills do you think define who you really are, or what your brand is? What are you known for? Okay, now, what 3 personality traits, the how you do them? You don't have to attach them to a skill, but think about personality traits. Strategic, empowering, people-focused, profit-focused. 2 very different people. When you modify a skill, you're now starting to distinguish yourself from others who do the same thing you do. And it's the how you do it that makes all the difference. Which leads me to personal impact. And this is what I love to talk about. Okay, personal branding, actually for a long time really had a problem with that phrase because it sounds like I'm going to make you something you're not. Now you know that's not true. Your personal impact is what changes everything. And it really is what happens because of you. Think of it as your tagline, your mission statement. I help bring personal brands to life, literally. People, when they know what their brand is, start coming to life. They start being more intentional about how they show up in every way they show up. And there's 3 things that I'm known for that help you do that. First thing I'm known for is helping you understand what your brand really is. Then I help you leverage it to get what you desire, whether it's a new job, a promotion, to develop and hone your leadership skills and style. At the end of the day, I also help you think about how you bring your brand to life through your image. You're all jumping to conclusions the minute you see somebody for the first time. More about that in a minute. What I say is going to reinforce what you jump to conclusions about, or not. The third is the experience of knowing you, and that changes everything. Because some people can say one thing, do another. Promise something, not follow through. And the goal is to think about how do you show up in every way you show up, and how does that start making an impact on people. At the end of the day, it's how you make people feel, and it isn't necessarily about feelings. It's, do you help inspire confidence in somebody? Do you help inspire hope? Do you give people peace of mind because you know you dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's? And nobody said it better than Maya Angelou. Have you ever seen such a big water jug? But her quote is so famous. People will forget what you've said and what you've done. They'll never forget Anne's garden. But they will never forget how you made them feel. And think about that. How do you want people to feel? And yes, sometimes emotions can come into it, but it is about the presence you bring to the table, the work that you deliver and cross the finish line on. So at the end of the day, it goes so much further than just what you might have expected a personal brand to be. It's why people choose you. You can come to a job interview, and if you assume that a personal brand is what you're known for and it's based on skills and traits, well, your resume is going to help you get there. Your interview is going to help you nail it, but the brand will get you to the interview. It will not get you the offer. Being able to communicate what happens because of you gets you the offer. It makes the connection. It helps people see how you do the skills, but what happens because of the skills. And there's a little more to it than this. It is not a measured result. I have seen more resumes in my lifetime than I care to count, but every time I look at somebody's initial, original resume before I help them bring themselves out of the resume, I look at all the results. And then I say, what was your impact on people that led to that impact on paper here? Tell me about that. Then I started hearing things like, well, I really do lead without ego, and I'm very collaborative in working with people and other functions, giving people a voice, making sure they're heard, encouraging divergent thinking, which I'm thinking of a client that I just worked with this morning who's all about that. What do you do that is non-resume jargony, that really, truly does help people see the impact you make on people? At the end of the day, nobody makes an impact on people. Go back, go back. You can do it. Doesn't want to go back. It's a great slide. It's a rock on sand with ripples around it, okay? But here's the quote, and this is one of my quotes, okay? So if you ever really want to be known for something, get a quote and leverage it without sounding like you're bragging. But here's what I would say. Nobody makes an impact in business without having made an impact on people. No measured result that is positive is done without demonstrating an impact on people. So the only thing that's missing from those measured results is a little more detail around trait and a skill that led to that. Whether you're project managing, whether you're leading, doesn't matter what your skill is, think about it. What is the impact I have on people? What is the trait that I would use to modify that skill? And what would I say is the impact that happened because of that? Super easy to think about this, especially knowing you're going to get a copy of this PowerPoint deck, by the way, after this session. So don't worry about taking a gazillion notes, all right? So you can't see that, but in business is kind of pink, right? Here's what I would say about it. Your brand, let's say you're in a transition, or you're looking to get chosen for a project at work, or you're looking to maybe even look for a new role. Doesn't matter. This applies to all of you. Your brand will get you to the table if you've done the things I'm suggesting, right? Don't just say a skill, bring a trait to the skill, so I know how you do it. But even better, bring an impact to it and talk about what happened because of you relating to people that led to the business result. Your impact, at the end of the day, will be the reason I make a connection with you and why I want to get to know you more, and at the end of the day, why I choose you. And we're just trained to go right into the skills. Sometimes they'll throw a trait in there, but we're just skills, results, results. And tell me about yourself is begging to hear a little bit more about how you do that. So you're starting to see how I'm shifting the personal brand thing. It isn't just what you say on LinkedIn or you post on social media. You have to walk the talk. You have to be it. And most of what you're already doing is better than what you thought you were. Most of what you're doing already is better than what you thought you were doing. Okay, you just need a little outside input from that. It's in your life as well, okay? Think about, there's a lot of people in this room that I recently got to know over at this table and made instant connections with for a number of reasons. But the brand, what you're known for, what you do, brings people together. But at the end of the day, the impact builds the relationship, makes you want more. And then it develops into something much bigger than just networking. My parents have no idea what I do for a living. I talk about it, and I get the glazed eyes and goes right over the head. Oh, that's awesome, honey. I was supposed to be a lawyer like my dad. Couldn't read the books. Like, just ADHD meets I'm not interested. So when I told my dad, I'm going into advertising, that didn't go over real well. Well, it eventually did. But he did start out in advertising, and my dad, throughout my entire life, said, sell the sizzle, not the steak. I'd be like, oh my God, if I hear that one more time. My parents have never seen me speak. They don't know what coaching really is or what kind of coaching I do. But my parents are right in front of me right now for the first time. As to my kids that I dragged through that adventure, and they ended up okay. But at the end of the day, this is what it means. And it was so funny because even growing up, my parents would always say, even in high school, your reputation is everything. Your reputation is everything. And it will define you for the rest of your life. And I was like living in fear all the time, stealing the golf cart and going out into the ninth hole and drinking. Okay, I'll just say it. Pep and Jack's golf cart, okay? But the point is, they always talked about this early on. I never really understood it through my teens, through my 20s. Thank God social media was not a thing. Although I do have a high school friend here, and she can account that I was a good kid. But at the end of the day, this started making sense in my 30s as I started working like a dog to get where I wanted to go in the world of PR and advertising. But it wasn't until the adventure, right, the diagnosis and everything that happened after that, that this really started to make sense. So, yes, Dad, I do talk about this. I even have a slide for it now. And I did listen to both of you talking about reputation. So, I made 7 promises when I was talking to Jean and the team, and here's 7 things I want people to walk away knowing, right? First one, what is impact? What is personal branding? Can't remember what the second one was. We'll just say it was personal brand, personal impact. Number 3, one easy tip I was going to promise to deliver to stand out, and that is something I've already talked about. When you're introducing yourselves, and there is an art to answering, tell me about yourself, because it isn't a long run-on elevator speech. It is hitting it with, well, I help bring personal brands to life. And if you're stuck in an elevator with me, you might either jump off at the next floor, or you might just wait around and hear more about it, right? In my role as nationally known, now globally known, thanks to Wharton, expert on personal branding, there really are 3 things that I'm known for. And then I go into it. I help people understand what their brand is, because what you think it is and what others say, it's not the same thing, it's better, what they will say. I help you understand and leverage it to get what you desire, whether it's in work or in life. And the third thing is to bring it to life consistently and mindfully through your image, what people see, what they hear and read, your brand voice, and then the brand experience or the adventure, right? What it's like to know you and work with you. But that little tip right there, add a trait to a skill to talk about what you do and how you do it. It can be your title, rethought, right? Because half the titles I have no idea what it means. I'm like, what is that? But think about it. Key roles, key areas of responsibility. Then add an impact to it. What happens because of it, right? Let me give you an example, okay? I used this one earlier. Leader. Everybody will say all over their resume, all through the interview practice, well, I'm a leader. I don't really know what that means. So you have to define it for people because all of you are leaders in some role, in some capacity, but it's how you lead that makes the difference. So, might use empowering leader. I give people what they need to succeed and thrive. It might be a people-focused leader, people over profits leader. Fill in the blank, you could have fun with that. Then add the impact of that, which in this case would be empowering leader who ensures people have what they need to succeed and achieve goals. Now we're getting somewhere. And then when you give me an example of that, and you talk about a fun project you worked on where you're able to deliver that, now I'm making a connection with you. And it goes beyond just a skill. And yes, you can bring this into your resume. You have to bring it to the interview. As you're talking about all those behavioral questions you're going to get. Problem solver I used before, but now it changes it when you bring in collaborative, data-driven, problem solver who instills confidence for leaders making tough decisions. Now I want to hear more about that. So how would you introduce yourself? Maybe do it built around 3 big skills, because guess what? The human brain, and I do study all this weird neuroscience and listening science, I'll hear 3 things. If you give me 4, which one do you want me to forget? 3 things. It's the power of 3. It's a thing. And it really is easy when you're listening to track. Because you know what happens in an elevator speech? You're taking me down a rabbit hole, and I'm wondering, when is it going to end? When am I going to stop? When am I going to hear something about them, right? The problem with the elevator speech is it's really hard for you to remember it and deliver it, especially if you've memorized it. You're going to forget it, so just don't do that, okay? It's really hard to listen to. And I want to grab onto something, but you have to make it easy for me to track with you. Remember, if you ever saw a lecture or a speaker, and I'll never forget this happened in the School of Journalism. Walter Brovald got up in this auditorium and said, I'm going to give you the 10 secrets to living a successful life. I got my notes out, I started writing, okay? I lost track after 3 or 4, and he didn't say, here's the first one, here's the second one. Wasn't on the syllabus. I think in outline form, most of us do. You have to help me track with it. It's not unlike a dog, okay? Okay, let me make it clear. Nobody's a dog here, but yesterday my daughter, who's here from New York, showed me these TikToks. About people talking to their dog on the phone. They're talking to somebody on the phone, but it's really their dog. And then every few words would be treat, walk. What were some of the other words? Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A was one. That was a great one. And we're watching this dog get more and more engaged. And that's what we're doing when we're hearing an elevator speech. We're waiting for something to land. We're waiting for a word, a trigger word, and Chick-fil-A would work with me, okay, to tell me something I can connect to. Because you know what happens when we listen and we don't understand the words you're saying? Like, you're all in technology, right? I spent a lot of my career in technology. I love technology, but I have no idea what you all do, okay? You might as well be brain surgeons, because I just am like, okay, you all do something different too. There's so many roles in tech. As you're describing it to me, every once in a while, I'll hear a word, and I translate it in my head. And that's what we're doing when we're listening. You're telling me something, I'm going to jump to conclusions, fill in the blank. So if you really want to have fun, try delivering your elevator speech to somebody who's not in your industry or at where you work. Do the elevator speech and then ask them, what did you just hear? And they're going to come back with some words you said. They're not going to connect the dots. They're also going to share some words you never said. Because that's what we do when we're listening. We're just filling in the blanks that we don't get, okay? Second question you would ask them is, what did you experience? That's a whole different thing. When you're doing an elevator speech, I know it. I know when you forgot something. I know when you're trying to get back on track. I know when you're trying to connect with me. And if you have high emotional intelligence, you know I don't get anything you just said. So now you're going to dumb down the conversation for me. Thank you, okay? But at the end of the day, you want to make a connection. And one of the best things I can say, and yes, I love this dog's face, because it's literally, okay, I'm waiting for something that I can connect to. Make your point, right? I help bring personal brands to life. You're going to get really sick of hearing that. I've now said it 3 times. I have to say it 17 times for you to walk away and say it exactly the way I said it. That's the other cool research, the forgetting curve. If any of you are in sales, go read all the research on the forgetting curve. But the goal is to make a point. Now build on your point. Now make another point that builds on that point. Because now I'm tracking. And that's a whole different keynote. But you kind of get what I'm saying, right? Say words that I'm going to be able to connect to. Give me traits that tell me how you do it. And then the big bang is, what happens because of that? Again, the impact on people that's leading to the impact in business. Okay, 5th tip. I can't remember the 4th tip now. Any of you? No, because there's too many. The dog. Make your point. Build on your point. Thank you, Anna. See? I raised her right. Okay, secret to a high-impact answer, to tell me about yourself. You've all been waiting for this, right? If you read all the promos. It is following this transition, okay? Make your point. What's your impact? What happens because of you? Tagline, 10 words or less. Short, sweet, pithy. Easy for you to remember, easy for them to listen to and remember and tell somebody else, okay? Next, position yourself. Now you bring in your title. Now you bring in your role and what you do, right? In my role as a nationally known expert in personal branding and, more importantly, personal impact, as a facilitator, as a keynote speaker, I'm known for 3 things. The first thing I'm known for is this. The second thing I'm known for, which is helping you understand your brand and then leverage it. You can't leverage it until you understand what it really is. And the third thing I'm known for is helping you bring it to life through your image, through your communications, everything you say, write, I read, post. And then I want to see that extended through the experience of knowing you. Ah, yeah, you look like your photo. Your verbiage that you're using in describing yourself on LinkedIn, I get it. I'm making a connection, right? Resume jargon, it's not you. Bring you to that when you're talking about yourself, right? And at the end, I can say, I help people bring their brand to life when they know what their brand really is, and more importantly, the impact. So you're doing a full circle, but it's easy for the listener, and they matter more. If they walk away thinking something else, or that you just garbled half your words, because that's what we do in interviews, we get nervous. We just talk and want to get it over with. And yet I really need to know about you and what you bring to the table. So I'm not going to read through this whole thing. You all have it on the table here. But this would be, if you had to do a script, which I don't recommend doing, but you can follow this kind of a format, right? I empower people to deliver exceptional user experiences. In my role as Technology X project manager or leader, whatever, there's 3 things I'm known for. Number 1, a relentless focus on the user experience throughout the roadmap. Just told you enough to want you to know more. Consistent direction that keeps the project on target is the second thing I'm known for. And the third thing I'm known for is unifying cross-functional partners and encouraging divergent thinking in elevating and delivering the end product, crossing the finish line, which we come back to the beginning, which empowers people to deliver exceptional user experiences. Reading it is one thing, hearing it and coming back and circling back, now I can retain the information. And you have to think about listening science. And all you have to do is go do your elevator speech, ask people what they heard, and you'll see what I mean about this. Okay? Huge new way of doing the answer to tell me about yourself. Tell them enough. Make your point. They're going to want to know more about it. And then, of course, you have to turn the table on them. Try doing this in an interview. How about you tell me a little bit about you to the interviewer? I've had clients do that, and they literally are stumped, and they'll say, well, I'm not going to be able to do it as good as you just did it. But it levels the playing field in a good way to make a connection. Okay. At the end of the day, I'm going to say this truthfully. What you think your brand is and what other people will tell you it is, and Gina's living, still on track. Gina's a great example of this because Gina's a very dear friend of mine. I've had the honor of working with her through many transitions, and so what she said was true. But every single time we got together, we talked about this. Okay, now what was your impact? What do you want me to know about you? Because we default to the talk track. We go back to the thing we always said. And now you got to rethink that. So how do you figure out what your real true brand is, what you're known for? I'm going to challenge you, and this is on the table, but know that you're all going to get a copy of the PowerPoint afterwards. Ask yourself these 5 questions. Write them down before you decide to ask other people. Then send an email out. Do a little intro, say, hey, I'm kind of doing this fun little project. And your opinion really matters to me. So would you mind answering these 5 questions, just based on your experience of knowing me? No guidance. What do you believe are my top 5 skills? I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to get 5 traits, because people don't know the difference between a skill and trait. So you can say, role, thing I do. What do you believe are my top 5 traits? Now you can say adjective, right? If a skill is a noun, a trait is an adjective. Maybe give them suggestions. And then say, this isn't really me, but this is a difference, okay? Third question, what do you believe happens because of me? In other words, what is my impact on people and or business? Fourth question, what 3 things do you believe I'm known for, open-ended? And then, what else do I need to know? And what I will say about this, is that you are going to get more skills and traits in the open-ended questions than you did skills and traits on top. You're going to get way more traits than skills because people don't think of each other as a skill. And yet, that's how we answer that question, tell me about yourself. We go to the skills, we go to the measured results. At the end of the day, humans remember how you made me feel. And I'm not saying it's, oh, I felt so loved by you. It's literally, you made me feel confident. You made me feel inspired. You made me feel heard. You made me feel important. You were there to save the day when you gave me too much responsibility and everything fell through the cracks and you said, great, now you know how not to do it. That's what this comes down to, all right? Have fun doing that, because when you start aggregating it all and doing your own little thesaurus of what your skills are and what your traits are, when you include people from your professional life at many levels, again, the only criteria is their opinion matters, but also include people from your personal life, you're going to start seeing there's consistency between the two. What you do at home, leader, problem solver, you're also doing at work. And every step in between that. How you make people feel, you're doing that whether you're at Target or driving through Caribou. It shows up whether you know it's special or not. That feedback is going to change everything. If you don't believe me, ask Jean. Last, how do you then bring your brand to life? And this is kind of a fun little thing to do, okay? It is about bringing your brand image, what we see. Think of your LinkedIn photo. It speaks 1,000 words, according to somebody who said that, right? Your photo speaks 1,000 words, okay? What 5 words do you want it to communicate? That's going to change what you might wear, how you do your hair, how you wear your glasses. You might be less inclined to wear a suit and tie or a skirt or something else that looks professional and be yourself. Not everybody connects to the suit and tie. Not everybody connects to, the scarf. Be yourself. Be you. But your image is your presence. And I've met some pretty impressive young people here tonight who all had a presence without opening their mouth. Okay? So think about it. What are you communicating? What do you want to communicate? Brand voice. What and how you communicate in person, online, body language. Try riding the subway in New York City. They're communicating all day long without saying a single word, but all of this comes down to presence. And it gets extended into the experience of knowing you. Those things you do without even thinking about it. I'm a problem solver, but you know how my kids would describe me? Because I keep saying it. I'm MacGyver. Now you know my age, okay? I can MacGyver anything and try to fix something. But be real, use words like that, right? I can juggle 7 balls in the air and not one single one touches the ground. You're a project manager, and you're really good at it. So at the end of the day, be it, live it, be intentional about it, be mindful that words matter, actions matter, consistency matters, but don't hold back. Don't be something you're not. Make a meaningful and genuine connection, and that is about bringing those traits to the skills and the impacts. Don't blend in, though. Really figure out what is it that you do that somebody with the same title doesn't do, because we're all different. And that's it. Did I make it? Under time? Yay! Thank you. Do we have time for questions? Does somebody have a question? A stumper? Yes. Jenny, give me 2 skills you think Lisa is known for. Skills are nouns. Here comes the mic.
Process-driven.
Process-driven is a trait. Perfect that I picked you. I love this. Skill.
Okay, she is a program manager. Her skill is understanding teams, bringing them together, and she knows technology.
Okay, we just got 3 skills in there. Program manager, team builder, and technology. Okay, now give me 3 traits for Lisa.
Oh my gosh. Compassionate, giver, encourager.
Skill. Encouraging is a trait. See where I'm going with this?
Just
And there's one big one for Lisa.
gritty.
She's very pretty.
No, gritty. Grit.
Gritty. Okay, that's true, because I've worked with Lisa, and one of her favorite words is grit. Okay? That was perfect. Okay. So you get where I'm going with this? It is trying to go beyond your own opinion of yourself and try to figure out these skills and traits. Skills are adjectives. They're descriptor words. They are characteristics. You'll know it's a skill because you could say, I am a fill in the blank. You will know it's a trait because you could say, I am a passionate technology leader. I would want to work with you. Passionate and fun. Lisa's really fun. Okay.
So I have a question. So one thing that's really hard for women in general, but also a lot of male colleagues that I work with also, is how you describe yourself and, oh, I'm smart, passionate, I'm all of these things, but still stay humble.
Give me a word that you would have a hard time saying about yourself because you're humble.
Probably
That's
that.
the usual suspect is intelligent or smart. Give me one more. You just were like, oh, I can't say that.
I know, and now that's hard, right?
It is hard, and here's what I'll say about it. I'm not going to trip you up. If you can't tell me what you're known for, especially when I'm interviewing you, I'm going to find somebody who can and is comfortable doing it and confident doing it. But yes, it depends on how you say it. Somebody can say, you know what, I'm very learned. I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn. I went through and achieved my, whatever level of education or not.
But at the same time, they may not have a growth mindset.
And there we are. You just hit it. I'm a lifelong learner with a growth mindset. And now I know you're smart. So you don't have to say it, but you can find a way to communicate it, right? And you get these weird, wacky questions in interviews. What's the last TV show you binged? Game of Thrones or Ted Lasso? Ted Lasso. I'm going to go with Ted Lasso, because now you know I'm kind, right? And I'm inspired by him. But Game of Thrones, I could watch that over and over. What? What?
Season 3.
I know. I have it on my calendar. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else have a question? Yes. Oh, my God, my mother.
One word that you've never used is personality. And I think personality has a lot to do with how people are branded. What do you
Yes.
say to that?
Yes, and that's a trait.
And that's what?
A trait. It's a personality trait, yeah. My sister is one of the most gregarious, outgoing, in-your-face, fun people I know. No filter. And some people just love that about her. I love it about you. But yeah, personality is what I'm talking about. But traits can be personality traits. It can also be like a professional trait. I'm reliable. I'm responsible. Uh-oh. Not my sister.
What about the energy you bring?
Oh, 100%. And that is...
Not even the energy. When I walk into the room, I can shift the energy.
because you're so
You
gregarious.
can shift the energy. So how do you, when you have an energy like the Crandall girls have, very gregarious, we're very outspoken, we're very aggressive. How can you tone, yes, you. How can you tone that down so when you're being interviewed, you're not suffocating them with your energy?
Okay, this is a really good question. By the way, if you want to ever talk to anybody who's an expert in energy, meet my friend Sarah Martin right down here, who just got certified in it. Because leaders, that's the thing, okay? The leader energy, and I'm never going to say this right the way Sarah would say it, but it creates culture, and it gets infused throughout an organization. Energy is huge, and it can be in how you talk and the excitement you bring to it, and I can feel it. But people that have a lot of energy, high energy, also have to balance it with emotional intelligence, right? Being able to read the room and see if they're picking up on cues. And there's 5 elements of emotional intelligence, which is another fascinating thing. But some people don't read the room, and they just don't know when to stop. But you have to, you know what? I love that you brought that up, Molly, because at the end of the day, it's about being yourself. You have to be yourself. You're not for everybody, and if you blow the interview because you were yourself, that wasn't your job to have, right? So, quiet clap, quiet, polite clap. Yes? Good, I can drink water. And Jean, you can give me the warning. 2 minutes? 9 more minutes. Yes. Think of your tough questions.
Okay, so I'm going to ask something kind of equal but opposite to that. So there are some of us, I think of a lot of things in terms of DISC because it's really helped to put a lot of things in context for me. There are a lot of us who are really good at talking about ourselves and promoting ourselves, and we do have to balance it with not being overbearing. But there's a lot of people who I think make really good leaders who are more listeners and who are not good at talking about themselves. A lot of this seems kind of directed at the former. What advice do you have for people in the latter?
Okay, so none of you will believe this, but I'm an introvert at the highest level. I'll be taking a nap in about 20 minutes, okay? Because I give my energy out. It's again, I'm going to make it easy. Be yourself, because I love DISC, but the original gangster assessments, okay, are Myers-Briggs, 16 types, very different, right? And then you layer Clifton Strengths on top of that, and now you add 34 more to the mix, and you've got thousands of different kind of people. I am never a fan of trying to be something you're not, but you have to let people know too, give them clues, or even just come right out with it. I'm an ISTJ. Okay, my son's an INTP. Yep, sorry. 3% of the population. We're all different. So again, it comes down to, do we always have to work to try to balance and be more of an extrovert? Yes. Do we have to try to find a way to, blend into a blue environment when we're red, or any of the other colors in DISC, or any of the different assessments out there? Yes, but not to the point where you're not yourself. And the more you get to know people, I love companies that do assessments so that people can appreciate other types. And then you know how they listen, and you know how they take in information, because that makes all the difference in the world. But trying to figure it out, it is not easy. So my guidance to you, this isn't going to be very helpful, I don't think, but it's be yourself. People will figure it out. And just be honest about it.
I think my 16 personalities was commander, but I work with a lot of people who are not that way, so.
Yeah, and commander, the 16 types is based on Myers-Briggs. So they're assigning, architect or, other, there's a word for it, I can't think of it right now, but archetypes to it.
Yeah.
So, but some people have no idea what a woo is, right? So when you go out and say, well, I'm a woo, and I can sell anything. And then people go, wow, you were a cheerleader. Awesome. So not a lot of people know what the types are for assessments, but when you know yours, then you can leverage it and move beyond your comfort zone a little bit. But don't go too far, because it's just going to come off, and I know you're not comfortable. Okay, 5 minutes? Another question.
Hi guys. So my question is, as you build your personal brand and you're moving into a new role or new position, how do you combat that with imposter syndrome of being like, when you step into a room like this, I know I get scared, I get nervous, seeing all these people with all these accolades, and it's like, am I really who I am?
Okay, that's a whole nother keynote, but it's something I deal with every single day, not just myself, but other people. And again, it does, believe it or not, come down to your energy level too and how you feel that day. You know, God forbid I wake up as the extreme introvert and just say, well, I'm not going to go out and do that keynote today. That would not be cool. But here's what I'd say about that. There are some great books out there. The Big Leap, or is it The Big Leap, is a great little book, short read, all about imposter syndrome and moving out of your comfort zone. I know a lot of people that aren't comfortable talking about themselves or even coming to an event like this. You won't see me go to a networking event. I'm sorry. I wish I could say I love going to networking events. I'm really awkward, and I don't feel comfortable. I'm not kidding you. I'm not just saying that. So you do your best, and you just be you. I can see an introvert and connect with them right away when I know they're not comfortable talking about themselves. So there's lots of great books. I wish I could answer that easily. There's no easy answer to that. But I would say start, sometimes working with a coach helps. There are great executive coaches that are out there to help you see yourself the way you do. I do that work with the process I put my clients through, that they engage in. I should say it more positively. But they learn a lot about themselves and realize through the feedback of others, oh, I am that. I thought I might be, but I didn't put it down. And then you get validation. So I beg of you, do that little exercise. Okay, good. That was a good question. There's no easy answer to that one, because it's tough.
Sorry, I know.
We'll come back to you.
And then listen to what the feedback is that people give you. Because when you don't feel it, you realize that you put doubt into the feedback that you hear. Because you're measuring yourself by a different measure than what the people are giving it to are looking at you. They're looking at your impact. And you need to take them on their word.
Yeah, amen to that. I'm just going to say, it's so true, because it's so easy to dismiss other people's feedback. Oh, that's my mom. She's always going to say that. Or, oh, that's just my coworker. They always say that. When you actually ask people and it isn't anonymous, they know you're going to get it. They're going to tell you the truth. I've done studies on that, trust me, on my own work. They're more likely to tell you the truth. But again, make sure you're asking people whose opinions matter and tell them your opinion matters to me. So please tell me what I need to hear. And you'll hear things that you never imagined in a positive way. And if you ask those 5 questions, it's based on methodology like an assessment. I'm going to ask a question, I'm going to ask it differently. And then you start seeing all these other skills and traits coming out, and more importantly, these impacts. So connect with me after this. I want to hear if you do it. Okay? Okay, we have time for one more.
So this is very much from like starting out in my career, but also it can be at a new position or a new role or even like with a new leader. How like your skills and your traits may like shift, but you can remain or retain some awareness of it, how do you know your impact? How do you sort of grasp how you're impacting other people and by extension the business?
Okay, two ways. I mean, obviously the measured impacts, they're sometimes hard to find. But again, it goes back to getting feedback from people and asking the question that way. I bet many of you in this room have never thought about asking that question. What happens because of me? Or let me share what I believe happens because of you. So that question isn't really a common question to ask people. So go beyond your comfort zone a little bit and ask them what they believe. And don't give them guidance. Just let them go with it, okay? The other thing is, honestly, you hear it in reviews sometimes, when you do your annual review or something. But the best way to do it is really to get that feedback. Yes, your skills change. Yes, your traits change. Your Myers-Briggs, believe it or not, this is controversial, can change. If you lie in the original assessment like I did, I came out ENFP the first 3 times I paid somebody a lot of money to do it. Only to realize that one of my dearest friends, who was a Myers-Briggs expert, she said, "I don't think you're an ENFP." And I was like, "Have you read about an ENFP?" "I'm an ENFP." She said, "No, you're not. Let's do the assessment again." I'm the opposite. I'm an ISTJ. And Julianne, it was Risa that nailed me on that one. And it was really, I cried for days when I saw the results because I realized, okay, that makes all the sense in the world. Now I know why I'm tired all the time when I'm around people or I do meetings all day long. And it's a thing. So you can learn about yourself in assessments. You can make assumptions about what you think your impact is. Or you can put a stake in the ground and say, this is what happens because of me, because I've seen it time and time again. Or you can do the feedback, and in interviews it's great. I can say this about myself. And by the way, I know it's true because I asked 45 people whose opinions matter, and survey says, I'm that. But again, it's how you say it, right? Okay. I've always wanted to say this like I'm on a talk show. You've been a great audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. There are 3 things just to take away. We had the question on imposter syndrome. Teresa Sandy has a great book. We had her as a speaker January of something, 2021. 2021. So the video of the WLIT is on the MinTech site, but also her Fierce book is available, so you can read the book and listen to the talk. The second thing is, I love the quote, and I'll still read it, of no one makes an impact in business without making an impact on people. That's just really, really so insightful of how we think about if we really want whatever, the financial impact, et cetera, who we're gonna grow, right? How can we help the team? What's missing? And then the third thing, this is a true mantra, and for me, lean into the awkward. If you're really moving out of the comfort zone, it means you're not gonna nail it perfectly the first time. Think of it as like international travel. You're in Paris and you want to buy something and you don't know French. What can you do with credit card, hand signals? You're going to be able to get the item at the end of the day. I think perfection's overrated. Oops. All right, now the big reveal. It's my honor to announce that Robin Brown will be the next WLIT board chair. Now, Robin is traveling for business, otherwise we'd have some kind of baton to pass between us in a small skit. So without that, I appreciate the applause, and we'll share that with Robin. So the next event, Robin will be here hosting. But really want to thank Robin, but the full board, and the honor to work daily with you on the last 4 years of WLIT, as we went from in-person through pandemic, virtual, and then back to in-person. So really appreciate the passion, leadership, and hard work for the board. Also want to thank MinTech. Minnesota Technology Association is a great partner for WLIT, and want to thank Jeff Tollefson, if we can give him a round of applause as CEO. Jeff started his role about the same time I started mine, and we sat down for coffee, and he talked about, all right, who can you get? Let's look at how many additional women we can grow into leaders, how many additional CIOs we can create for women. And, that was started then the speaker list that you saw with the board of, Julie Sweet from Accenture as an example, and also the CEO for Best Buy. I mean, they're only, it's only a few women who are CEOs for Fortune 500, and you saw 2 of them in the last few years. And so those videos are also on the MinTech website. And so I would really highlight both Julie and Corey Berry. They gave insights of how they got to where they are. And so that, that leads the nuggets that we can grow our careers then. Now, for upcoming events, want to highlight 2. For Minnesota Technology, we have the Tech on Tap coming up in March, along with then Tech Careers 1.0. So think about, adding these to your schedule, again, expanding your network, learning something. And then finally, we'll thank all of our sponsors again for sponsoring this program, but also WLIT overall, and also for supporting MinTech. So thank you. And we have another half an hour of networking, so feel free to test out, tell me about yourself here. And Kathy and full family are down here. You can hear stories and additional questions. So thanks for coming. Really appreciate it.
Oh! Don't leave yet, Jean. So as we discussed, we've got a transition on our WLIT board, and I can't believe it's been 4 years. 4 years since we met at the Loop, when we were interviewing women to come on board and be our next WLIT board chair. Jean has brought so much focus and strategy and sometimes even herding cats to help us get work done and deliver programming and new ideas to help support this community that we all want to get back to. I would invite everyone to please give a big hand for Jean Mackhart here as she makes her transition from the WLIT board. You've got a standing ovation. And here's a little...
Thank you.
We got her a plant because we figured she'd have to look at it for a long, long time, as long as she doesn't kill it. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.